Let's see. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Good.
Episode 111.
Awesome.
Mr. Morano, it's a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure to be here.
We've orbited, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
My Uncle Kimball's played at your place several times.
Yes.
The Irish Band.
Yes.
Actually went and saw his first show there. So it's a cool place.
Thanks.
How did you end up? What's the story of your life?
Oh gosh, the whole life. It was crazy. I'll turbo through the first several years of it just because there's way more to it. Born in New Jersey.
Jersey guy.
Yes, my father was born. My father's a New York guy. He was born in New York City. Moved to Jersey as a teenager, and then when he got out of Vietnam, long story short, he ended up getting property in Arkansas really cheap. Before he went back into the workforce, he and my mother just
This
wanted...
would have been back way
back when. This is around
Why was he looking at Arkansas
1970.
for?
They were just kind of road tripping across the country, and he had done a little research, and he knew that this was an interesting area. So, they ended up buying property. We sat on it for a while, and I remember as a kid coming down and camping on said property. Had no concept.
So you guys had like a...
It wasn't,
vacation place.
It wasn't even that fancy. We were absolutely dirt poor. Make no mistake about that,
right.
you know. So, but ended up at some point moving to Arkansas.
So how old were you when you moved?
Oh my gosh, I was young. But,
okay.
And went to originally ended up in Huntsville.
Not super strong.
No, it's not super thick. My brother and sister have it. I'm the youngest of three. My brother and sister have it a little more than I do.
Okay.
The funny thing is, I've always said my brother's the one. He's the middle. He acclimated to Arkansas the most, hands down. He is
country boy
through and through, happy as can be, and that works for them. And
funny aside, Zach Wilde is from New Jersey.
Yes.
And like I always thought he was from like Alabama or something. I mean, you can obviously tell when he talks, but like when I was a kid, before I'd heard interviews, I always just assumed that he was from the South.
Another fun one for you, since we're on this thing. Richard Steuben.
Yeah.
Know who he is?
Not really.
Low voice guy from the Oak Ridge Boys.
The Oak Ridge dude. Yeah.
He's also from New Jersey.
No kidding.
So as is Sinatra and many others.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. But so anyway, we ended up in Arkansas. I went to Huntsville for a few years.
No kidding.
Ended up in Prairie Grove. My father got a promotion, but we had to live in Washington County. So
now, what year were you born?
I was in 77.
77. So you're about 4 years old. I'm 81. So pretty close.
Sure.
Right on.
And so went to Prairie Grove, finished out high school there. Been here ever since.
Crazy.
And
so we probably have a lot of Prairie Grove ties.
We do. I have no doubt. There's been a few. And obviously you know him really much better than I do. But like Jeff Calvert. We both know Braun Owenby. We both know. I mean, there's a bunch of people.
Yeah, right on. Do you know Gary Witherspoon? He's in my class, so he'd have been a little younger than you. He's my drummer, but him and Nathan Tyree. But my, Vinewood Animal Hospital was my grandpa's place. And so my dad graduated Prairie Grove along with both of my uncles, Kimball and Tom. So everybody in the family went to Prairie Grove but me. They wanted to kind of split the difference between Prairie Grove and Farmington and Fayetteville and Prairie Grove, but love Prairie Grove.
It's a beautiful little town. It really is.
You still live out there?
No, I spend a fairly decent amount of time out there. My parents still live in Strickler. I actually live in my house is in Bella Vista.
Oh my gosh.
I moved from.
You drive from Bella Vista down here?
A lot, yes, but we say that now, but I used to live right on 6th Street in Fayetteville, and I worked in Springdale. It took me longer to get to work because I had to go right up 71 Business. Now, I jump on the bypass. I still call it the bypass.
So do I.
Drive south. I'm right off the highway at this end. I'm right off the highway at that end. 34 minutes from my front door to the business.
Stop it.
So,
34 minutes.
I can make it in 34 minutes if traffic's clear. Yeah. But that
makes all the difference.
It does. It makes all the difference. That's one of the things I enjoy about what I do because I have different hours than everybody else for the most part. So I don't usually catch that real early or the 5 o'clock. I'm at work at those times.
Right.
So
right.
makes it
That's
a lot
fair
nicer.
enough. Yeah, that makes a lot of difference. Yeah. I hear a lot of complaints about like POA stuff up there and all that. Is that a big deal for you, or?
For me personally, no, because it is as much of a big deal as you will make it. I will be the first to say the POA is not the HOA horror stories that you hear about every place else.
Okay.
I've got a couple friends that live over in Harbor Meadows,
Mm-hmm.
and that is truly an HOA.
Right.
And if they don't like something, they will jump all over
Mm-hmm.
it. The POA, it is still the controlling organization, but
Right.
they are not an overbearing organization. No. They are having issues right now because the big thing, and I have personal issue with it. It says clearly in the covenants that you have your property, then you have common property.
Okay.
So common property, really simple. I'll give you an example. You have two roads that are parallel.
Okay.
There's houses along the roads.
Mm-hmm.
They're each on their lots. The property in between those two sets of lots, that's Bella Vista common property.
Okay.
That is owned by Cooper and therefore all of the POA, Property Owners Association. Mm-hmm. It is in the covenants that nothing will be done with POA common property unless it's put to a vote.
Right.
Until they put all the bike trails through.
Ah.
That was never put to a vote.
Mm.
Luckily, I wasn't directly affected. There was no trail put through my backyard, but I know a lot of people that were. And now there's a large amount of griping, and I'll admit I'm on the side of Bella Vista property owners saying, listen, we don't allow outsiders, meaning non-property owners, to use the lakes. We don't allow them to use the golf trails. We don't allow anything else without a significant upcharge. Why are we allowing to use the bike trail?
Can we talk about bikers for a second?
Absolutely.
I had my son's first football game this morning. I hate being late, so I'm always super early. We get on Double Springs, and there are 40 bikers on the street in a 40-mile-an-hour zone going 20 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a ton of road to go.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? What is
You
up
said
with
it
these
best.
people?
It's and
there was a goddamn sidewalk.
they're not allowed to ride on the sidewalk.
Oh, are they
and
not?
That's the law. You are not supposed to. It's supposed to be treated as a vehicle.
It felt like some kid was riding an electric big wheel in front of us, and you're like, what?
So let's talk about the ignorance and pomposity of our laws.
Sure.
So, a simple one, just to get us warmed up, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Arkansas, you have to have a seatbelt on.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're on a motorcycle, you don't have to wear a helmet.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the first one that makes you tick up ahead. But let's ratchet it a little more on exactly what we're talking about. Bicycle's not supposed to be on a sidewalk. It's supposed to be on a street.
Okay.
Can you ride a dirt bike on the street?
Can't.
Why?
Because there's no blinkers.
Turn signals.
Right.
There's no
brake lights.
Can't you just use hand signals like a bicycle? No.
No.
So why are we allowing? I mean,
Yeah, I'm with you on the dirt bike thing.
Let's stop splitting hairs
Right.
and say if it's good for one, it's good for the other, or
Right.
get them all off the road.
Right. I agree.
I'm and I tell people this. I am a bicyclist. I own multiple bicycles. I am a motorcyclist. I own multiple motorcycles.
You a street bike or a dirt bike?
Both.
Both?
And it just totally goes on.
My youngest one just got into dirt bikes.
I haven't owned a dirt bike in several years.
Have you not?
I've got a street bike. I've got a cruiser. And it depends on your mood. Now, that being said, I barely ride anymore. And every year I tell myself, why do I still have these? And I take one ride and I hold on to it for yet another year. But when I started riding, motorcycles were inherently somewhat dangerous. Now they are obscenely dangerous because everyone is driving down the road like this.
Oh my God, dude. I am terrified. I can't tell you how many times I've looked over, like going full speed, and somebody's not even watching the road.
Yes. And they're making it worse and worse, and it did kind of crack me up. I recently had a trip, and I was driving back from Salt Lake City, and I had a rental car. And it was a pretty nice new Hyundai, and my everyday driver, which is just a Ram 1500, it has the lane assist. So if you hit the lane, it bumps you. Not just makes a noise, but it does bump you back into the road.
Okay.
This Hyundai actually is self-driving. Will take you around corners, slow you to stops. Now, it will give you the alert of put your hands back on the wheel,
right?
But it doesn't change the fact that it's totally taking your responsibility as a driver away.
Right.
In the future, as technology continues to grow, they will be the masterstroke. Yeah. Planes became so much safer now that autopilot does pretty much everything. And I don't disagree. When you're going to take the human error
out of the equation,
it will improve.
Yeah.
The technology's not quite there.
I think once we get there, and Tesla's really leading a lot of that stuff right now. I went in a ride in a Cybertruck, and I couldn't believe, like, I'm talking to the driver and his hands aren't on the wheel.
Yes.
I'd never experienced it, and it was so wild to me. But you're right. If everything is self-driving, how many deaths do we have a year in vehicles? Because of human error, right? Mm-hmm. If you get the robots driving the trucks, you're going to eliminate that.
That's right.
It's a cool time to be.
It is. It's a really cool time to be. The auto industry. And it's that catch-22, because there were so many skilled jobs that were lost in Detroit as everything became automated.
Right.
But we also didn't have people losing arms, losing limbs. In the military, you've got drones now.
Yeah.
You know what? We're not losing human life. Mm-hmm. At least on the offensive side.
Wow.
We're not,
Yeah.
So it is. It's a very interesting time to be alive, and it does excite me to think, what are we going to see? One of the things that I enjoy is when I meet someone that is significantly older than I am. Mm-hmm. I always ask, I have a few standard questions. What was your first vehicle? What was your favorite toy as a child?
Yeah.
And what do you feel is the most significant advancement in your lifetime?
Yeah.
And
those are good ones. Part of the reason I started the podcast was because my grandfather passed away, and I wished I had done this with him. I had one of my class assignments in school was we had to interview the oldest person we knew, and it was my great-grandmother at the time, and she was in her 90s. And I've still got a cassette of that recording, and it was just really special to have that. And I wish to God I had done it with him. But it's wild where we're going. And like growing up as a kid in the 80s, we had Nintendos coming out, and I mean the CD, the compact disc, which is now ancient technology, right? It is to like our kids what vinyl was to us. It's outdated, and now we're thinking we might be on Mars by 2030.
I think that's a little pushing it, but I think it is significant. We are similar in age, and when you think about our youth, how many different things there were. People had Palm Pilots, people had iPods, people had little
planners.
Brother,
I still use iPods.
And it hasn't been absorbed into your phone, because now you have one device that does it all. Plus, and I feel when we look back, we have the Iron Age, the Stone Age.
Yeah.
I truly believe this time will be considered the information age.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we have the information of all of it. Yes,
just all of it
at our fingertips.
Yeah,
at our fingertips, which is great.
And so does the government.
And yes, I mean everything has the positive and negative.
Yeah.
And it's so different when you look at how things were and how they're going to be. One thing that amuses me is how many devices have fallen by the wayside. Stuff that was cutting edge technology, but is now completely obscure. CDs. After CDs, we had what? MDs. We went to mini discs.
Yeah, those didn't take off very well, though.
They didn't take off very well.
Take off.
Probably, and I'll admit, I'm going back to when I was really young, so it might be a little before you. Betamax.
Yeah.
VHS, Betamax.
I remember the conversation. My parents or adults around that having that conversation. It was just kind of like when HDVD and Blu-ray were coming out, and it was like kind of a war. And then Sony did the deal with Blu-ray, and
the rest is history.
And I just bought the fucking original series of Star Trek on DVD, by the way. So that was worthless.
I was looking the other day. I was clearing out some stuff in my garage. I still have a Laserdisc player that I picked up for next to nothing.
Get out of here.
I don't know if it still works. I haven't plugged it in, but I looked at it and went, wow. Because at first I saw a crate and I was like, oh, I have albums? I forgot I even have albums. And I looked and realized they're not albums, they're Laserdiscs. And I was like, wow.
Dude, that was crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
That lasted a minute. Out. But yeah, beta, and then the Laserdisc, HD DVD. Yeah, a lot of them. But I feel like once the smartphone came out, it's been kind of stagnant.
It has
until AI.
Yes.
And AI is such. What are your thoughts on it?
Okay, first of all, I've got to give you full disclosure. My background: I am a hardcore computer nerd.
Okay.
That being said,
you gamer?
Am I a programmer? No, I'm actually not. Well, when I was young, I was. As I grew up, I kind of got away from it. I am severely impressed with modern games. Yeah. They are fantastic. Yeah. The last I own a PlayStation 4. I bought it 2020 specifically because I knew I was going to have a lot of time on my hands, and the reissue of my favorite game of all time, which was Final Fantasy VII.
Dude,
I mean, that was where it was at. So
my favorite is 6, but 7 was great too.
It was that is to this day the only game that has ever made me tear up.
Really?
I was so angry when Aerith died.
Yeah.
I probably reset that game 15 times and tried to redo it until before I understood.
Did you play the remaster?
I did. Okay. I played the original when I was young.
Yeah.
And then I played the remaster when it came out.
Okay, so without playing the original again.
Yeah. Well, I've played the original since then. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I haven't played the remaster. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't do it.
It's beautiful.
I haven't played Final Fantasy VII since it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of I don't know. I just can't do RPG. I don't have the patience for RPGs anymore.
Sure.
But I've heard both people love it and both some people hate it. What did they change?
They broke the story up a little bit.
They did.
But it's not. The game's coming out in sections, whereas 7 came out. Yes, you had 3 discs, but you had the entire game.
Right.
And it didn't. It only came out with the first part of the game.
Right.
The graphics are unreal.
Yeah, I have seen.
And that is to be able to immerse into that.
Remaster, okay, so I got to see it, but
sure.
I didn't get to see it enough to know really what the difference was in and out of the room.
Yes. Yeah. So going back to your question, my thoughts on AI. I am a big computer nerd. I started very young. I always said that one thing you do have benefits of is whatever your parents do for a living. My father is self-taught computer engineer, and that was what we had in our house. We were poor, but somehow we had computer. My first computer
before anyone else, probably. Yeah.
I had a VIC-20 was my first computer.
What year?
Oh my gosh, that was probably 1980.
The fact that you said 80 anything.
82, early 80s.
I'd say the average American probably got their first computer in 95.
Yes.
That's when we got our first one. It had the Windows disc with the Weezer's Buddy Holly on it.
Mm-hmm. So I was actually the tech support for even like Prairie Grove Junior High. Before even that, when I was in Huntsville, they had stopped using the one computer that they had. Now, when I was in grade school, we had the Apple IIe.
Right.
We all played a lot of Oregon Trail, and we all got a lot of Dysentery.
Is it in here in my office? Yeah, I've got they re-released a little version of a pocket version of Oregon Trail.
Nice.
And so my wife's playing through it, and she names all the kids after our kids, and then she got really upset when she got to pop up. Theo just died of dysentery, and she's like, "I made a mistake naming my kids this because they're all dying."
Sure.
What a great game! That game still holds up.
It is. It holds up. And now the other one that really got me addicted then was, and I am a lover of knowledge, and the first one was Where in the World's Carmen Sandiego.
On Nintendo, or was that on PC?
This was on PC. Well, even before PC, first time I played it was on Apple IIe. I later got it for a Commodore.
Maybe a different game, but there was a Nintendo version of Carmen Sandiego.
Basically the same game.
It had a big guide with it. Yeah.
And it taught you geography.
What was that? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah, then they had cartoons and everything else that went with it.
I love that show. Yeah.
I think the AI is beautiful. Do I think that... one of the best quotes I've heard about it, though, was simplistic yet poignant, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was from an artist who said, I don't want AI to create the art. I want AI to do the menial tasks so I have time to create art.
Okay.
Completely agree with that.
Yeah, and you can work it that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a musician, and I don't know, maybe you're not this way, but most musicians I know would much rather be the one creating music. That's not to say that you wouldn't, I mean, you know, one of them cranks something out and you try and you go, oh wow, that sounds really cool. That's not to say you wouldn't use it that way, but if something else could do your everyday tasks that allowed you to express your creativity, I'd much rather take that side of it.
Well, I'll give you an example. I grew up with my father's records from the 70s. So the 70s is my era.
Sure.
I felt like the 80s, and I'm a rock and roll man, so like the 80s to me, and you name every artist, John Fogerty, Paul McCartney, Burton Cummings, all these guys went from being guitar rock and roll bands to having digital drums, synthesized keyboards. It just lost the rock aspect of it. Anyway, I'm very much a purist in the way I record, so auto-tune was, when we recorded our Carry Me Home album in 2006, auto-tune was available, but I refused to use it. No, I'm going to get that perfect take. Well, I remember we were doing a session, it was late, and like there was just this one note that I wasn't getting, and everything else on that take was perfect, and my voice was starting to go out a little bit. And we're paying, you know, however much an hour it is to record, and Dwight goes, can we just auto-tune this one? I said, let me hear it. It was perfect. I said, fuck, just do it.
Do it.
Then once you do it once, right, then it's like, fuck it, just do it again. I mean, and so then I got to the point where it's like,
then your acceptance.
It's still my performance.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
You're just, what are you just going to do it again? And I don't know. Then I didn't have, no, I don't think you should rely on auto-tune.
Exactly.
But if you've got a perfect take and there's one note off, just do it. Because it's costing you money, you know, to do these repeated takes. And so that, you know, I can see that with AI too, where you start using it a little bit and then you get okay and then it
kind of goes. I mean, the big controversy right now, and it's kind of funny because they keep talking about college campus. I hate to tell you, but I'd wager there's probably, and I think I'm probably low on this, 30% of high school students, do you think they're writing their own papers now?
Not anymore. Fuck no.
And the difference is, in high school, they know that the faculty doesn't have the resources that they have in college, so no one's checking it. And no disrespect to any high school instructor whatsoever, but I feel the acumen of a college instructor is probably a little higher. They probably, or if nothing else, just more used to seeing it to where you recognize it sooner. It's like, as a bartender versus as a layperson, I generally have a tendency to pick up on level of intoxication before everyone else around me does. And I feel that way, so I think that it's very interesting. But on the flip side of that coin, it's a tool, you know?
It's like, I say this all the time on my podcast. A tool is like a hammer. You can build a house with it, or you can kill somebody with it.
Absolutely. And when we were young and in school, you had to learn the mathematics behind it.
Right.
Okay? As an adult, you use a calculator 99.998% of the time.
Why would you not?
Unless you are in, you know, physics, engineering, et cetera, et cetera. And even then, guess what? In modern times, you're probably using a program
some kind of
to figure out those equations for you.
Absolutely.
The knowledge is great, and you should have it, but I think it's
or at least the basic understanding of it.
I think it is kind of silly to try to automatically knock it the same way we did calculators when they came out, the same way we have computers when they came out, the same way, I mean, there's been so many things. Automotive technology explode. I mean, it is a beautiful time to be alive in the technological sense. Is there a lot of other stuff going on? Sure. The sad part is our knowledge is higher than it's ever been before, but our food, let's you know, the food is going the opposite because it is so full of terrible things.
Yeah.
And we
so
all
are
know
you an RFK guy? I know that's one of his big.
And that's it's hard for me to say that I am or against any of the nationally known anymore, because each one of them has positives and negatives.
Yeah,
every single
one.
Well,
that's a good point, and that's one of the problems I think with that humanity has is we're so tribal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to pick a side. And if you pick a side, you have to agree with everything that side believes in. That's bullshit.
In your first statement, and nailed it. Because this is what has changed from when I was a kid to now. Your statement was, you have to pick a side. No, you don't.
You don't.
It's okay to sit down. I know you and I, just from listening to some of the stuff that I've heard you on, we don't agree with everything.
That's okay.
I feel like we are rational enough that you can state your feelings, I can state my feelings. We still probably won't agree.
Sure.
But we can at least say, okay, this is good. And there's certain things, and some of them are really simple. You know, I'll throw this little one out too, just because it's always been a gem to me.
Sure.
I think I'm doing something right because my conservative friends think I'm liberal. My liberal friends think I'm conservative.
Then you're in the right place.
I confuse everybody. And the thing is, if you can't point and say what is honestly good and what is honestly bad without accepting the entire platform, that's a you problem. Yeah, that's not a society problem.
It's like these omnibus bills.
Yes.
You got to accept it all,
yes.
The good and the bad, and yeah, you're right.
But that's how they push everything through.
Oh,
you know?
I know that.
And it's disgusting.
Wouldn't you like to see individual bills? These omnibus bills are disgusting. And it's all politics, and it's all backdoor bullshit, and people are getting promised shit.
On the good side, and this is where I say, even in that, there's positives. Nobody talked about, okay, I won't say that. A very, very small percentage of people talked about that 25 years ago. Why? Because they didn't know it was out there.
Well, that's another benefit of today's era.
Yes.
Knowledge is
instantaneous.
And you've got investigative journalists, like whether you like him or not, I personally think he's a scumbag, but like James O'Keefe, getting all this, secret footage from these guys in high positions admitting terrible shit.
Yes.
And it's a sneaky practice. I feel like it's unethical, but it unearths so much stuff. And then it's out, boom, immediately. And the whole world knows about it.
Yes.
Whereas back in the day, in the 90s, early 2000s, you could hide shit forever.
Yeah.
Now you just can't. I'll use Israel as an example. Growing up, Israel was one of our closest allies, and they're the chosen people of God, and and you watch them go from that to now people calling them, saying they're committing genocide and are murdering an entire group of people. Now, what's your stance on the Israel thing?
Ooh, that's
a tough one.
That one is a tough one. Unpopular opinion, I'll freely say. I said 25 years ago, nuke Jerusalem, and within 6 months, each one of the leaders of the big three religions that are all currently headquartered there, one of them will have a divine vision that this is the new Holy Land. And when I say nuke it, I mean nuke it bad. Let's make it to where it is inhabitable.
Okay.
One of them will have a vision that their chosen deity said, this is the new Holy Land.
Right.
And I got $1 in my pocket that says the other two will just happen to have a vision that says, oh, it just happens to be the same place. And now we start all over again. And when we think about it.
But if you, just real quick, basically what you have over there, it's all religious based. It's my God's dick is bigger than your God's. How do you solve that?
And the sad part is
ideologues fighting ideologues.
And the sad part is that it's been going on for centuries.
Yes.
And why has America supported Israel? Because they basically have the same belief that we do. We don't like the other sides, not because they're wrong, not because they're bad, not because they're anything else, because they don't agree with us. And we're afraid, we have always been that rah.
Right.
I'm the kind of guy that I like to insert a little bit of chaos every once in a while. And one of my friends posted something probably a week ago, and it was this. Somebody had put out this big diatribe, and it was before this. It was not.
Seen a lot of diatribes lately.
Yes, it was not a Palestinian state, and before this occurrence, it was not a Palestinian state. I don't know if you've seen this then, but I've seen it a couple times since then. I inserted one little question. I said, "What was Israel called before 1948?"
Yeah.
And I'm not even trying to be a jerk. I'm trying to. What I said was
just asking the question.
Open a book.
Yeah.
At least read enough to where you're knowledgeable about what you are arguing.
Well,
about.
that's my biggest frustration with a lot of postings. Is it's like you didn't read the article, you read the headline.
Yes.
But didn't Britain fuck all this up in World War I by promising everybody that land, and then whoever invested the most kind of got it? I mean, I'm not extremely educated on it, but it seems to me like Britain kind of set some of this up.
It even goes back before Britain. World War II was the turning point, and the quick explanation of that is very simple. World War II is the first time in human history that the victors preserved the defeated, not only preserved them, but rebuilt them. In the history before that, it was, I mean, you look at the reasons that Germany was terrible. I could do an entire. I mean, Germany was in bad shape.
Yes.
Because everything had been taken from them
from World War I.
World War I.
Yes.
And it's that.
And so you have a charismatic leader come around and says, "We're going to make Germany great again."
Yep.
If you will.
And that's exactly it. That's why it did. It kind of poked an eye up from me when you started hearing the echoes of the same chamber going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, but the sad part is, on the opposite end of the coin, and I say this, I can piss off both sides really simple, because I can ask anyone, does the U.S. government waste money?
Right.
Exactly. It is such a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But there's other things like that in our society.
Certainly.
The podcasting couch, the casting couch. Everyone knows exactly what casting couch entails,
right.
But we were shocked to find out that there was a Hollywood director that was making women do sexual things to get a part in their movie.
Stop it.
No. How we had no clue that was going on. Sure, okay?
Yeah.
I could say a lot of unpopular things, but it's a tough one. I know we're
going down rabbit holes, and that's fine with me. But the Weinstein thing, do you think he got fucked?
Is he a terrible person? Absolutely. Okay.
But did he commit any crimes? If they were above age, and they knew that they were going to get a movie role.
Yes. And that's
to
where
me, that's a transaction.
And now, 25 years later, you had the choice to turn around and walk out of the room.
And people did. There were people who did.
Yes. And
I don't, to me, think of those people as victims. Mm-hmm. And that's an unpopular thing. And was he a piece of shit? Yes.
Yes, he was a piece of shit.
Absolutely. He used his power to leverage it, to have sex with young, beautiful, hot actresses.
Yes.
But he did deliver on his promises. He made a lot of stars. He delivered. He paid them off. It's basically prostitution.
Yes.
So,
and that opens up a really ugly can of worms, because I say most people are prostitutes, and people, anytime I say that, people will argue with me. I'm like, listen,
no, you're right. Everybody whores himself for money. You got to make a buck.
You got it. Whether it is to your job, whether it is to your drug dealer, whether it is to your spouse,
your corporation,
whether it is to your, ultimately it is transactional, and it's a tough pill to swallow.
Couldn't agree more.
Some people they're just better negotiators than others. That's the sad truth. But and that's why it gets really ugly, because if we hit Weinstein, let's go the other side to Epstein. All right.
Okay. Yes.
Epstein.
Oh boy, you're hitting my gold mine here.
This guy. First of all, I will freely say this from the beginning.
You were on the island?
No, I was not on the island. First of all, I'm too old. I truly believe that his actual business was blackmail. I am
100% with you. I think this. So they released yesterday Ghislaine's testimony, and she basically said there was no list, there was no blackmail. So what did they promise her to just lie?
Well, first of all, they first thing you told me, when you first moved onto this property, you were living in this room.
Yeah.
And then you built your house next door, I'm assuming, and you moved in there.
Yeah.
Well, if I had you forced in here and I said, Brad, if you'll stand up and just be honest and tell everyone that Morano's is the best place you've ever had a burger in your life, I've got this building right here next door if you'd like it. Ghislaine Maxwell went from a maximum security federal prison, and now she's in Club Med.
She's in Club Med after basically saying nothing ever happened. It was a hoax.
Surprise.
But ultimately, here's the question of the day. I truly believe if I don't think this is about Trump. I think if Trump was on those files, they would have leveraged it long ago. I think they're protecting Israel.
I think that.
I mean, Robert Maxwell and the ties with the Mossad he had. This can't just be coincidence, man.
I think and I've never been a conspiracy theorist. I do think this is one of those things that's so big that everyone's shaking.
Yes.
And I think that all the parties are involved, from the Democrats to the Republicans,
to the Court members,
British Crown to the Supreme Court.
Yes,
this guy had dirt on
everybody. And to say that there was no blackmail operation or a client list is, any amount of common sense tells you, screams, this is a lie.
This is Liam Neeson saying you do not see any droids. You do not see any droids. I mean, it's like they're doing everything they can to divert attention.
Well,
part of the court documents were already released years ago, and they're out there.
Yeah.
And that's what cracks me up when you hear, there was no list. The list was already I mean, it was leaked.
I'm not shy about it. I'm a Trump supporter, and we can maybe disagree on that, but I've never been more pissed than when he got asked about Epstein in the Oval Office. He says, "Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, that creep?" Like, making and acting like it was a stupid question, like, who cares? He wasn't talking to that reporter. He was talking to me.
Yes.
As somebody who voted for Trump. Now, I'm not saying Trump campaigned on that. He really didn't. In fact, when he was asked about it, he did back away. In the interview, I can't remember who it was with. They said, "Are we going to get the JFK files?" He said, "Yes." "Are we going to get these files?" He said, "Yes." "Are we going to get the Epstein files?" And he goes, "That one's a little tricky because we don't want to implicate people who didn't do anything wrong." So he didn't campaign on it. But Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino sure as fuck did. Every goddamn podcast appearance they went on, we get in there, we're getting the files day one. And then they made this big show of giving these binders to these influencers, right, for a photo op. And then Trump acts about it that way, and it's like, God damn it, you're lying.
What gets me about Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, did they not watch the first go-around? He will throw you under the bus the moment it is self-serving to him.
But that's not unique to Trump.
It's not, and I will freely say that. I mean, that is just a political move, and that's why I said, it's like, I can talk to you for the next half hour and make you believe, in your head, without saying a word, you will believe that I am the biggest Trump hater that you've encountered. Right. Then I'll talk to you for another half hour, and you'll be like, wait a second, I was totally wrong. He's the biggest Trump supporter I've ever met.
Right.
And it's
that's because you can hold two ideas in your head at once.
Yes.
There's
good things, again, and there's bad things.
We have to pick a side, right? And when you do that, you can't think logically.
No.
He's done some great things. He's done some stupid things. When he brought up fucking Operation Warp Speed the other day, I
yes,
got fired up about that.
That's where
why can't you acknowledge, like, say I support a guy, but I hate these things about him? Why do you have to be a worshiper and an ideologue? This
is the part of him that I truly don't like, because he's the one pushing that narrative. If you are not even if you are a Republican, even if you are a conservative, even if you are all of these things that are traditional, if you are not MAGA, then you are wrong.
Well, Thomas Massey is a good example of this. Thomas Massey is my favorite politician in the world. I want him for president. I feel like him about the way people felt about Ron Paul back in the day. And Trump hates Massey, and he's always calling him a grandstander. And Massey's right every single time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, like, Thomas Massey, to me, is he's not loyal to the Trump agenda, and so he's cast out.
Yes.
Right.
And it's what you... and I think there was something... You had said something a while back that was... one of the things you liked about him was that he had enough of his own money to where he didn't have to bow to the other big money because he was big money. There's something to be said about that, but I feel that was a perspective in that no, he doesn't have to bow to it because he's part of that establishment. The fact that you had a even if we're generous when we say multi-billionaire, he has people that don't have two nickels to rub together, that live in a broken down trailer in nowhere, Arkansas, going, he's one of us.
Yeah.
That level of charisma is epic. Now, personally, I don't even think it's that fancy.
It's not.
I don't.
It's never been.
It's not that fancy. What I'm saying is, I don't think that is even because of Donald Trump. Bill Clinton, he had his positives, he had his negatives.
Sure.
He was an incredibly charismatic man.
I loved Clinton growing up. My life was great.
Yeah,
when he was president.
It's one of those things.
Whether he deserved that or not,
Sure.
I don't know, but it's like a president's like a quarterback or a head coach. You get all the blame and all the praise.
You got it.
You won the game, but your team did all the work, but you're the quarterback, so you get the praise, or, you're the bad guy.
And it's if you want to go biblical on it, the classic line is, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing man that he didn't exist.
Yep.
I think it's kind of the opposite of the spectrum, where the man standing up in front of everybody going, this is who I am, and this is what I say. Yeah. And I also feel, I always tell people, you got to remember the first round with Trump, the Republicans did everything they could do to derail him.
Get out of it, yeah.
And they finally realized it was a juggernaut, and Chris Christie of New Jersey and Mike Huckabee of Arkansas were two of the first ones to jump on that bandwagon. Yeah. And the truth is, it came down, and this was right, it was too early for me, but I also learned about it as I got older, it was the Ronald Reagan effect. Mm-hmm. People knew Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
People feel like they knew Donald Trump because they watched him on television.
He's been a part of culture since my childhood.
Yes.
I knew who he was when I was a young child. He was in Home Alone.
Yes.
That
everyone knew
Who's
the
that,
Trump
Mommy?
name.
Oh, that's Donald Trump. He's been a part of the zeitgeist of popular culture.
Yes.
And then you've got 20 years or 14 years of The Apprentice, which took him to a whole new level. It's like when Ozzy Osbourne. So I went to see Ozzy in 2002. I've been a lifelong Ozzy fan. But half the people at that show were there because of the show The Osbournes.
Yes.
Right? They didn't know the songs. They were just going to see Ozzy. And that's like, it took Ozzy to a whole new level of popularity.
You got it.
Whereas The Apprentice did the same thing for Trump.
So which just tells me, and I'll call it, in our lifetime, I'm not going to say it will absolutely happen, but would it shock you if Dwayne Johnson became president?
No, not now. It's the WWE. Trump's turned politics into the WWE. It's the most entertaining. People are not watching their favorite shows because they're watching the news. He's made it fucking interesting.
And something I said, and I said during the campaign, it was actually right after he had Hulk Hogan on.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, this is the sad truth. There's way more unintelligent people than there are intelligent people.
And they know that.
And that's why that small handful of people has been yelling for the last 70 years, wrestling is fake, how do you still like it? Well, there's more of them than there is of you. They know it's fake, they don't care, and some are too dumb to realize it's fake.
That's a really good analogy. What is the timestamp there? 44 minutes. That's a good clip.
There's some ugliness that we don't like to talk about, and you have to be real careful, because if you dive deep into it, people start going, "Oh, you sound like something else." And I do find it amusing that in this you don't have to be mentally competent to vote.
No.
You don't have to be mentally competent to drive a vehicle. You don't have to be mentally competent to imbibe in substances that will make you not clear in the head.
You don't have to be mentally competent to breed.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people who shouldn't be.
And, they had this idea. I tried to watch the films about it, but I don't understand German. Okay?
Right.
This is not a new idea.
Right.
And, again, it's kind of funny because if you look back, and we're going to see where history lets this one fall.
Absolutely.
And
I just want to see it play out.
Yes.
Because nobody's right or wrong right now.
But where do we go from here?
Who fucking
and
knows,
I still say, and I said this on election night at my place, I said, here's what's going to happen. The left is playing into Trump's hands beautifully.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see a little bit, and I have been saying, you're seeing the beginnings, guys. I'm not a big, everything's terrible. I am not the sky is falling type. What I said was, it's all going to start. Someone's going to wait. They want that soundbite. We're 3 years in. We're 2.5 years in. And someone gets up and says, President Trump, you're serving your second term. What are you going to do after office? And I really believe this is how it's going to start. He's going to say, who said I'm going anywhere?
Well, he's already teased about it, but then he has confirmed he's not.
And then as that goes on, what happens? The left loses their collective minds.
Well, he's trolling them with
that.
He has no intention of running again.
Because he says,
I really don't believe he wants to run again. I think there's 0% chance.
I don't think he has intentions to run.
I think he is saying it to troll the left and make them look. The Trump 2028 hats, dude. It's a brilliant move to just trigger people.
It is.
Into acting like complete asinine psychopaths.
You
and
nailed
drives
it.
People.
And that's where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Okay. He doesn't have to run. Because 3.5 years in, the left is losing their mind. They start picketing and rioting and going ape. And Donald Trump says, there's too much civil unrest. We can't hold an election. Yeah. It's too dangerous.
Right.
Where did he get that play from? Look in Alaska at the most recent summit that occurred there.
Well, the Ukraine's not holding elections.
Well, what year did Vladimir Putin come into power?
Oh, shit, I don't even know.
2001.
But they hold elections, don't they? They're just rigged.
Kinda, but not really. And I truly believe. I mean,
I don't think
he figured out how to assert power.
Yeah, I get it. Let me ask you: do you really think Trump wants to run again, legitimately, or do you think he's just trolling the left?
The one thing
I believe the latter.
I truly believe, and this is why they have that relationship, and I think that's why it shocks him every time. Donald Trump is the biggest megalomaniac that I think
has ever existed,
has been in my lifetime, and certainly on a national stage.
Oh, certainly.
Now, has he done some good things? Yes, he has. Yeah. I will not disagree with that whatsoever.
As somebody who works in corporate, you get into a meeting, right? And there's bullshit. There's just bullshit and bullshit, and nothing gets accomplished. The thing I love the most about him is there is no bullshit. We're getting right, whether you agree with him or not, let's get right to the fucking heart of this. Even the hard facts that people don't want to hear.
He is the classic case, and there is something to be said about it, and I appreciate this. But again, I truly believe this is another one he pulled out of the Russian playbook, which is it's way easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. Yeah. Once you do it, it's done.
Well, he's always been obsessed with Russia.
He has.
And Putin.
But why? Because they play him like a fiddle, and I truly believe that. They realize that,
I will definitely give you Putin is probably like way intellectually superior to a guy like Trump, but Trump is a master at playing his instincts.
He is.
So you can't discount that.
But he can't leave his ego in check, and that's his weakness.
It is. It's
because
his Achilles heel.
Putin gets up and says, You're the greatest president that the presidents have ever presidented.
Right.
You should be the president.
Well, he
forever.
gave Donald Trump the one thing Donald Trump has been saying forever is, if I were president, this war would have never happened. And he got Putin to say on camera, if Trump was president, this wouldn't have happened. So Trump got to check that off.
Is there still a war though?
And it wasn't solved on day one.
It wasn't, and it won't be, and it'll continue because they're playing him like a puppet. Because again, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission.
Right.
This is not the first time Russia has gone into the Ukraine.
No.
Okay?
No, that's true.
And let's go back. Let's take it all the way back to, I won't quite say the beginning, but I place a lot of the blame. I grew up in the 80s. You were right behind me, but we still had that Red Scare. Why did we have a Red Scare?
Yeah, I didn't remember it as much as you.
It was very simple. Europe was getting their ass kicked by Germany in World War II.
Yeah.
The Soviets, if Hitler doesn't attack the Soviets, Europe is speaking German right now, and I absolutely believe that.
Right.
Okay?
You really believe that?
I absolutely believe that. Operation Overlord. And this
You're
is
way more educated on this than I am, so this is a
long story short.
Yeah.
He goes into the Eastern Front because he needs the oil reserves that are in Russia. Russia is being run by their own dictator and who has no... The difference between Germany and Russia was very simple. Hitler was trying to say, we're better than everybody else, and Stalin simply just said, I have more of you than anybody else.
Yeah, Stalin was...
So, I mean, yes, they had sheer numbers.
Yeah.
So they pushed back Germany. Always remember, it wasn't the United States that captured Berlin. It was the Soviets.
Yeah. No.
And at the same time, right after that, the United States wasn't doing so hot in the Pacific theater. And they were terrified that the Japanese army, which was in Manchuria in China, was about to turn because, okay, this part of the war is over. We need to concentrate. The United States was terrified that the Japanese army was about to start into the Pacific campaign. FDR, long story short, basically, I won't say pleaded, but really asked for help for Stalin, saying, can you keep the the Japanese army occupied? Because if the Japanese army starts getting to these islands, we're in trouble.
Right.
And if you do that, we'll help you rebuild. We'll help you do all these things.
Sure.
We'll give you some preferential treatment, and everything's going to be great.
Okay.
And Stalin went, okay, because you've been my ally and you've helped me. I'll help you.
Right.
And then FDR dies.
Right.
And Harry S. Truman has probably the worst case of short man syndrome that the office of the U.S. president has ever seen.
And he came up through intelligence, right?
And he didn't like the Russians. And basically, long story short...
Is that where it started?
Yeah, everything that they were promised was revoked and taken back.
Yeah.
And
so we fucked them.
We did. Hard.
We fucked them.
And
then we campaigned against them for the next 20 or 30 years.
I mean...
Well, still...
Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
We got alerted because there were Soviet nuclear missiles or Soviet missile sites being built in Cuba. Why did the Soviets put missiles in Cuba? Because we had them in Turkey pointing at the Soviet Union.
Right.
We had them against their border.
Right.
But they don't teach you that in school.
Right.
That's the stuff you have to learn as you get a little older.
It's just like the whole NATO thing with Russia. Russia has said for years, don't let Ukraine join NATO. And, like, that's pretty common knowledge.
Yep.
And then we keep teasing and flirting that we're going to let Ukraine in NATO. What do you think's going to happen?
It's so we could do the same kind of thing. I mean, we're very good.
Well, didn't we regime change Ukraine? Didn't we take...
We
was it Poroshenko?
I mean, it was...
Was that the name before Zelensky, the guy that we took out? But we took out their leader, who was a Russian sympathizer, and placed Zelensky in there.
And we learned that trick from Britain. You know, that's what Britain does. That's what we've done in South America.
Change.
And it cracks me up that, you know, every time we go in and do a regime change on somebody, it doesn't really go so well.
It backfires sometimes.
You know? Not sometimes. Most of the time.
You think most of the time?
And then as soon as the American military might rolls out, they can't they can't withstand. But that being said, and this is the way I've explained it to people who are seeking knowledge.
Yeah.
It's very simple. If I came to you and said, okay, Brad, I want you to be the mayor of Fayetteville, Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to build you a custom house, everything that you and your wife could possibly imagine. Mm-hmm. We're going to make sure Walter's involved. We're going to make sure everybody gets exactly what they want. And all you have to do is look the other way as I allow my company to pour a bunch of chicken litter all over the place. But you'll never want for a dime. You'll never want for anything. Yeah. No one's going to say no to that. Nobody. You can't, because at the end of the day, you've only got so many years on this planet.
And your family is your primary focus. Yes. And they are set up now.
Yes.
I don't have to fuck anyone else. Yeah, it's an easy yes.
And we like to say that, I'm above that.
I'm morally superior.
I always joke, there's always one guy, it comes up all the time, I would say all the time, frequently in the bar. There's always somebody that says, what would you do for $1 million? Yeah. And you get a bunch of drunk guys talking, there's always that one guy that stands up and says, I would never kiss a guy for $1 million.
Yeah. There's always that guy. Dude, I would suck a dick for a lot less than that.
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, it's like, I used to joke, it was like, Mike Tyson could hit me once, I could buy a better looking face than this, all right? And I'll gladly take that $2 million payday for fighting Tyson,
What did you think about that shit show with Tyson and Doofus, the
Paul guy,
Which Paul was
it?
Logan?
It was... That is the...
Who are the two Paul brothers? Logan and...
Jake.
It was Jake he fought.
Yeah.
Yeah, Logan's
So, Tyson, I give him all the credit in the world. And I understand him taking the payday. I will never knock the man for that whatsoever. Why would you
not take it, dude?
In a physical confrontation, there is a certain point where age. Now, that being said, I laugh at all the people who came in and said, see, I mean, it's the younger generation. They're like, see, I knew that Jake Paul would... Okay, I got news for you. Jake Paul, despite being a jerk, is a professionally trained fighter.
And young.
Okay?
And like the peak year, like in the early 30s or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
against somebody who's 60?
60. Okay? Now, every one of those people that said, I knew Jake Paul would take him, Tyson would easily kick their ass. One punch, and they would be begging for mercy.
Did you ever play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
Oh, yeah. 007-373-5963.
Dude! There's not many people that can say that.
That's it. That's the one.
For those of you who didn't catch it, 007-373-5963 is the Tyson code. You had it memorized because you got your ass kicked every time and had to go and go back to him. Have you ever beaten him?
I have. It took me a while, but I have.
How old were you?
Oh my gosh. Now I was I was a computer kid. So the fun thing is, I never had a Nintendo.
My first. So you had like a port?
Well, I had a friend that had one, and I played it a little bit there, and then it was at the store. Walmart had it, and you were roving. So
back in the day when you could actually put games out for people to play that didn't steal all the components. Yeah.
My mom was shopping or whatnot. I'd go over and see if I could get in, and that was one of the reasons you knew that number, because you only had a limited time to play and try.
Right.
But eventually, I ended up buying. I remember I went in to get a wrench from the old pawn shop in Prairie Grove, and they had a whole setup. It was like 20 games and a original NES, and I'm talking NES came out in what, like 86? Okay,
so in Japan it hit the US mostly in 87, but
so this is probably, I'm talking 1999, 2000.
Late.
Way later. But one of the things that caught my eye was in that stack of games was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Right on.
So I said, you know what, let's go with it. So I dropped the $50 and I bought this Nintendo and I brought it home, and I just remember thinking, like, well, this is funny. So, but I did. I sat and played some games that I enjoyed, and I had exposure to, and I finally beat Mike Tyson. And it was tough, and but now I even look from that day to modern games. Just look at the controller. And games are so much more immersive.
Yeah, but still. And I'm not even joking. One of the proudest achievements of my life is beating Mike Tyson.
Oh, yeah.
That was the toughest boss. I was 19. I think. Yeah, it was like the year I graduated high school. I was, I don't know. I just there were like a few games that I had not played, and Zelda 2 was one of them, and I wanted to knock some old stuff off my bucket list. And one night I just sat down and played Tyson until I beat him, just over and over and over. Because I couldn't do it when I was a kid. I didn't have the because it's
you get trigger happy.
You get trigger happy, and his pattern is not like the other bosses have a pattern you can suss out. His is kind of glitchy and random.
Yes,
like you get knocked out if he hits you in the first 30 seconds. You're down.
Yep.
So. If you get knocked out in the first 30 seconds, you might as well start the fight over.
That was pretty much it.
But anyway, I just kept at it. I don't know how many times I lost, but I beat him. Finally. And then I played him again. And I beat him again. I beat him twice. And I was like, I know exactly how to do it. I beat him again. And then I played him 3 more times and lost all 3 in a row.
That was pretty much it. I remember I tried a couple months later, and I didn't even make it. I remember when I tried again, it took me 10 tries to get through the first round with him.
Yeah.
You know? And it was just like, oh
it's
my
insane.
gosh. But
the level of difficulty, because I think Super Macho Man's the last one before him, right? The difficulty level between Super Macho Man and Tyson is tenfold.
It is.
It's like there should have been 20 fucking people in
there
between.
were a lot of games like that in that time.
Did you play Contra?
Yes, Konami code on that.
Up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start. It's an older coaster, but it checks out.
It does. It absolutely does. That one, okay, since we're talking Contra, very proud of this, and I will even say this. Huntsville, Arkansas, 1989. 1 quarter.
Yeah?
Entire arcade of Contra. 1 quarter.
Did you use code?
No.
No code?
3 lives. You got the extra live after whatever the point
I have
was.
beaten it without the code. I got so obsessed with it. Me and a buddy used to, well, this was before we had kids, obviously. We were out of high school, but before we had kids, we wanted to beat Contra without using the code. Because as a kid, you always used it, you know. And we finally got in this groove where we could just beat the game. And then we got to Super C.
Oh, yeah.
Did you play Super C?
I did play Super C.
Holy fuck, is that like, that game is so much harder. And we eventually beat it without using the code too, but we started with the code, and you only get 15 lives on that code. But holy shit, Super C was a lot harder.
I eventually ended up with a emulator on my computer to where you have 500-600 ROMs, games I had never heard of, never played. And so and that was where I first came across. I had seen Super C, but I had never actually played it. So I started playing on the emulator, and yes, very much tougher. It was.
But it's like anything. The more you do it, and you memorize every single route, because they weren't randomized. Like nowadays, I think games probably have a little bit more randomization of the enemies, but you could time every.
That's where I think it's interesting for AI. Because now when you have somewhat learning on the fly against you don't get to just memorize the patterns anymore.
Right.
You've got to adapt. It's adapting to you, you're adapting to it. And I think that brings it to a new level of challenge.
Well, like I'll say that, like, my kids grew up with 3D games. Other than my oldest son, I started him. I had this moral thing when he was young. I was like, if you're going to play video games, you've got to start with Nintendo and work your way up, And I did, and it made him a good gamer, And after that, I was like, God, that was a stupid thing to do. But I will say my younger kids who grew up with 3D games really struggle with 2D platformers.
Yes, I can see
it's
that.
It's a different skill set.
It is. And I mean,
it's less complex, but it's still a skill set that the 3D environment doesn't quite give you.
As someone who came up in the 8-bit generation.
4-bit.
4-bit.
Remember
absolutely.
The Atari. I mean,
oh my gosh, it was. So I never had gaming system because I was a computer guy. To this day, I've never owned an Atari of any form.
Yeah,
which is funny because that is in my age group. But
you're the Atari generation.
Yeah, I had a Commodore 64, and
Oh,
everything.
nice.
And the funny thing is, I
never had one of those, but man, that's cool.
Nobody knew what pirating was back then,
yeah.
And I really mean that. And it's kind of funny because you look at it now, and it's don't copy that. That was all we did. All of us got together. Somebody got a new game, and it was here, let's make 7 copies, and we all did that with our cassettes, and we all did that with MP3s, and we all did that. And so I posed this question, and I am curious about this one for you. Friend of mine is a musician that plays at my place regularly. I said, as a musician, would you rather make sure that you get paid for every time your song is played and you're getting $5 a play from it, but it gets played for 50 times and then it's never played again? Or would you rather your personal creation song becomes a standard, no different than the happy birthday song? Everybody knows it, but you never make a dime off of it.
The latter. But I also don't value money in the way other people do. To me, art is, and I have a hard time, I've always struggled, and that's why I fail, because I don't like to charge for things.
Sure.
I've got my own festival. I don't want to charge people. I want them to come have a good time, take a load off, right?
Yes.
If you want to buy some merch and I recoup my cost, make a little bit off of it, that's fine. But I have a hard time because as somebody who is middle class, I know how expensive it is to go to a concert.
Yes.
How expensive it is, and I'll say this about the economy. In 2019, before COVID, I was making 30% less than I'm making now, and we were putting money back. And now we're making way more money, and we're living week to week. I mean, it's a struggle. So I understand that with people, and I just want to provide a good time. So music to me has never been about making money. I've not, and any money I've ever made off of music, I've reinvested in studio time to get more music out. So I've really never actually taken any money from music.
You and I have a very similar, and I say this as a person who is not an artist, but you and I have I feel like we have similar view on it. My take is that art is interesting because generally, particularly visual arts, they'll never be popular within your lifetime. You're usually only considered a master once you're long gone. Now, there have been exceptions, but that's for visual arts.
You're talking about visual art.
Visual arts. Now, as far as auditory arts, different story.
Yeah. Your actors, and they're celebrity gods.
I agree with you in the fact that I don't think you will ever see another massive band.
You can't.
As long as we have what's going on. Because the same thing, I liken this to the beer. If you're a Bud Light drinker, you will drink Bud Light tonight, tomorrow, the next day, next week, next month, next year.
For whatever reason it is.
If you are a craft beer person, it doesn't matter if the next beer you have is your favorite beer that you've ever tasted.
Or something brand new.
You're going to drink it for 3 weeks, and then you're going to jump ship because you're afraid of missing out on something.
You're right.
And that's what's going on in the music industry to me. Yes, you'll have someone come up and they're on fire, and it's like, wow, that's incredible. But you and I would go out and buy that Def Leppard and stick it in. And yes, we had already heard Hysteria, but we listened to the entire thing front to back multiple times. You digested it, you learned.
Yeah.
And people would say,
Well, we had longer attention spans
we did.
back then. I remember Jimmy Page, and I don't know if you've seen the documentary Becoming Led Zeppelin. But and this is already known from the books about him and stuff, but Jimmy Page refused to do singles. We're an album band. It's an experience. I want you to listen to the whole thing.
Yes.
And I've always loved that about Zeppelin. And now, do they have radio hits, that people play? You've got a few numbers that the radio continually plays, but they weren't releasing singles back then. You couldn't go get a 45. You had to buy the record.
So that's a good question. I want to know your favorite artist, your favorite band, and your favorite musician.
Within the music world, the first one was artist, Chris Cornell.
I can see that.
I've never winked an eye if a celebrity died. Kurt Cobain was a tough one, actually. I will say Kurt Cobain hit me when he died really hard. But I was an emotional teenager, and he was a hero to me. But when Chris died, I was an established songwriter. I'd been writing for many years, And Chris didn't have a host of names next to his songwriting credits.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote all that shit himself. It was open tuning. It was odd tuning. It was all over his range, just Beautiful. A god.
Mm-hmm.
What was the next one? Favorite band?
Mm-hmm.
I got to give a top 5 on this one just because to me, the Beatles and Led Zeppelin are the 2 greatest bands of all time.
Okay.
And I try very hard in my writing to merge the spirit of those 2. The Beatles had hook.
Mm-hmm.
They got you to sing along. Zeppelin made you feel power.
Mm-hmm.
When those bottom drums come in, ta-ka, ta-ka, and it just felt powerful. And which Zeppelin obviously turned into metal. Even though Black Sabbath are the grandfathers of metal, Zeppelin I think were the prerequisite to that. But the Beatles and Zeppelin, to me, the Guess Who, highly underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Megadeth, highly underrated, and the Black Crowes.
Do you think that the Who should be discussed at the same time the Beatles and Zeppelin?
I would put the Who in my top 10, yes. Just not quite over that edge because they were really, to me, damaged. And this is the same with Queen. The 80s killed them. And I'm trying to look at it holistically.
Okay, and that's where I find this fun because I love to do...
The Beatles ended...
I love the Beatles.
Before they could have gotten ruined. I'm glad they stopped before the 80s.
That's the argument.
I think they would have sucked.
Is that if the Beatles had survived long enough... No, No,
they would have gone that 80s route.
I mean, they didn't survive, and then, John Lennon gets killed, and that's that.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the career. They didn't have... And I think it's going to be really interesting when you look back, because I think as time goes even farther down, I believe The Who is going to be listed in that. Unfortunately, I think Led Zeppelin took a big hit when it was finally revealed. And I have no problem with somebody pulling from other sources. Yeah. The fact that they gave no credit and said, this is Led Zeppelin. And then years went by and they said, okay, this is really this obscure song that was from here. And this is... You could make a good argument that their first album was a cover album, which is really interesting.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second.
Uh-huh.
Everybody steals from everybody.
They do.
But even openly admit it.
And you have to give credit. That's the only thing I ever say. When a band jumps out and says, hey, this comes from... Now, don't get me wrong, when something's so...
Okay, here, let me give you an example of something I just stole.
Uh-huh.
And I'll grab a guitar to give you an example.
Okay. If you ask anyone that halfway knows me, or even knows me pretty well, who my favorite band is, they're going to tell you Guns N' Roses. Which is close, but that's not it.
Here's why I don't put them in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Quantity matters. They were so short-lived, I don't feel like... Because really, they only had, Use Your Illusion, Appetite, Lies, which was an EP, and then a cover album. I mean, they just didn't have a lot of output. What they did put out was amazing, but could they have sustained it?
Do you know the band Boston? Rhetorical question, I know. How many albums did Boston have?
I honestly don't know. I'm not a massive Boston fan.
3. Really? But that band is known 50 years later.
But you wouldn't put them in the top 10 all time.
I wouldn't put them in the top 10. I'd put Brad Delp in top 10 singers all time, because you want to talk about someone that had pipes.
I'm not arguing
that guy
I'm not arguing
could throw down.
I'm not arguing that at all.
And that's... It's interesting. Axl, I think young Axl is really tough to beat.
Okay.
For greatest vocalist, because talk about Chris Cornell's range. Axl's is bigger than Chris Cornell's, but he kept playing long enough to. And to be fair, Axl's voice was higher, and there has never... You cannot sustain a high voice over 50 years. Because you're literally destroying your vocal cords as you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's why Led Zeppelin stopped playing, because...
Oh, I would disagree. They got back together for that O2 Arena tour.
And it sounded terrible.
Dude, I strongly disagree. I thought Robert sounded great. he doesn't sing high as much as people think. Mm-hmm. I thought he sounded good, man.
There were moments. It's just like when I see I've seen GNR a lot.
Okay.
When I see them now,
how is he now?
There's stuff he pushes too hard on, and the best way I describe it is most of what used to be guttural is now wailing instead of that.
Right.
It's a. He goes high in a different way,
like falsetto.
Yes. So it doesn't have that.
Rather than going you're going
Yes, you have that more like a
Because that reminds me of the South Park episode when they're blowing up the loving you.
Oh my gosh!
It's easy because it was it Stamos can't hit a high F.
Yes. You
remember that?
That was fantastic. Oh, and
have you been watching?
Oh my God. Just to give them some credit.
The Gnome episode.
Holy cow!
Shooting crypto.
Yep.
Oh my God! Dude.
After
I laughed so hard.
Did you see this week's episode?
Yeah, I didn't think it was that funny.
Come on, all the little
the microdosing.
The microdosing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just over Randy and Integrity Farms.
No, I agree, and this is where it's unpopular, and it's a.
I thought the militarized DC was hilarious, and I thought showing Tally on the rack at the end with all the white stains on it was hilarious.
Yes.
And JD Vance, hello, boss.
I think they've finally gotten back to nothing is sacred. I think they had started to curve a little bit to corporate pressure.
They got pussy for a while.
But I firmly believe with this new contract, they officially have FU money
unleashed,
and that's exactly now they're just going.
And not because I'm trying to protect Trump, but I hope they don't just focus on Trump because that's going to get old real fast.
It's going to. I think that this is what it's going to be. I think it would not surprise me if the entire season had something along that, if he was involved in some way, because, and I think part of it is, I think they are a little personally pissed off about like Stephen Colbert. They've said as much. They're like, wait a second, you didn't like what somebody was saying, so we're going to chop this.
Did you think Stephen Colbert was funny?
I think Stephen Colbert is funny. Yes.
Still.
I don't think he was as funny as Jon Stewart. I think Jon Stewart. What I love about Jon Stewart is he extremely well read, extremely intelligent.
I love Stewart on the Daily Show.
I loved
Colbert on the Colbert Report.
Yes.
I did not like him on the Late Show. I thought he was a corporate shill.
It wasn't the best fit, but there's been worse fits. I mean, there are way.
Kimmel's a bitch.
There's a bunch that I just sit there and go. That's why I don't even watch.
Kimmel gave us the Man Show, and I will always appreciate that.
Yeah.
But that is not the man.
No.
That made the Man Show.
You said earlier that there's only been a couple of artists that have, gotten you. There's literally been 2 celebrity deaths that ticked on my radar: George Carlin, Robin Williams.
Those are the man.
I mean,
2 of the greatest comical or comedic, I should say, minds. Robin Williams was probably the first actor in my lifetime. Jim Carrey, I would argue later, that could do both comedy and drama equally well.
Yes, fantastic. And
what is it, Awakening with Robert De Niro? Have you seen that
one?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That movie makes me cry every time. That's my favorite Robin Williams movie.
One of his more obscure ones. The World According to Garp.
I've not seen that. Man, Can you give me a quick premise?
He goes through some major life changes. Ends up being responsible for his wife's having an affair. He kind of goes unhinged. He's got his kid in the car with him. And the big turning point in the movie is when he flies home to confront her, to catch her, whatever. The wife's in the vehicle with the student, and before it happens, she's like, this is it, this is the last time. She's going down on him. Williams rips into the drive, rear ends them.
Damn, that's some heavy shit.
Yes. If I'm remembering right, one son dies, the other one loses an eye. The young man with his wife gets his nether bits ripped off.
Wow,
but
it's fun for the whole family.
It is fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
But to me, it showed that range. I mean, Robin Williams, I think, had always wanted to show that he could be a very serious actor.
Yeah.
And then the cataclysm of those just started happening.
Yeah.
You know, you started getting the
Patch Adams kind of stuff.
Why am I thinking Dead Poets Society?
Dead Poets Society. That's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, it was there, and
what
he just
a masterpiece
kept going.
of a movie. Also, what was the movie that Kevin Spacey did? Was it American Beauty?
Oh, American Beauty. Love that movie.
I haven't seen that. I want to rewatch that. I'm watching House of Cards for the first time. Have you seen it?
No, I have not. That one's a new one on me.
So both Obama and Clinton have said this is the closest television show to Washington you're ever going to find.
Okay.
And so then you start watching it and you feel so gross that you can't watch it by yourself.
Because it is gross.
So I looped my son into watching it with me, so we're watching it. Just the political machinations and the deals and squeals and all the shit that goes on. It's a really good show.
Slowly but surely, the curtain is getting pulled back. And I think that's good. I think it's good for our society.
And we find out they're all bad.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
surprise!
That's never
Thomas Massey's the only fucking honest person.
And there's going to be some other voices that will come up.
Do you like Massey?
We'll get to that. I think Massey's got some really good points. Again, I don't agree with everything he has.
Sure.
I think that he has...
But generally, do you think he's coming from a good place?
I think that he has some
do you think
very...
he's genuine?
I think genuine, yes.
Okay,
I think that he is
what I'm
absolutely genuine. But genuine's not always great, because I believe that the followers of Fred Phelps in Westboro Baptist, a friend of mine posed this to me years ago, and I'll admit this one rattled in my brain for a long time.
That's a fair point.
If they truly believe what Fred Phelps was espousing, and they absolutely believe that if they did not make contact and save your soul, that you would suffer eternal damnation, can you really fault them for trying? Even though you completely disagree with them, it's hard to fault someone, but that's when you start getting into that really sticky area. We don't like to say that someone's smarter than we are or someone's not as smart as we are, because as soon as you do that, then it's you think you're better than me.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a moral high ground.
It is.
Situation.
And I'm sorry, there are certain points where you're allowed to say, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. So we've gone around Robin Hood's. Please give me 2 songs that are very similar, something that you said you recently borrowed.
So there's you're familiar. This is why it's the most professional podcast on the internet, folks.
I love it.
We're hitting wires. So you know the band Dream Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Very progressive rock.
John Petrucci.
You have to have a engineering degree just to listen to their music. I try to get into them because I just love their drummer. God, why am I drawing a blank on his name?
That one I don't remember off the top of my head.
God, I can picture his face. Their drummer's amazing. And so I tried to get into it, but I just can't handle the vocals and the keyboard, way too much of it. Plus, the songs are 20 minutes long. There's no really hooks. But they've got a song on their Metropolis 2 album, Beyond This Life. It's like a 12-minute song. And there's a riff in the middle of it that they play like maybe 8 bars of, and it's underneath a solo.
Okay.
So it's a buried riff in a 12-minute song, and it sounds like a Pantera intro, right? Hold on, forgive me. So this is the riff. Sick fucking riff. Got a great groove to it. I'm like, I want to steal that riff and write a whole song out of it. But that, when you copyright, you can copyright melody and music. And so using that as a riff would be copyright infringement technically. But you can't copyright solos. So we've got a song. So we've got a song where I've got a solo in, and so one of the licks I do is this. Is that stealing? I mean, it is.
Do I think it's stealing? No, I've never thought it's stealing.
But should they should I give them writing credit for using that riff in a solo.
I think that if it were to be published, especially on a large scale, I think absolutely it should. And if for nothing else,
but
just
see, people
to protect your own. No, I don't disagree with you, but you want to protect your own integrity down the line. Because someone can point and say, someone that is that Dream Theater fan says, "Hey, he got that riff from this."
But don't you say, look at it as an homage? Like, for example, the band Ghost. I want to know who they are. Okay, so they've got a song. I can't name you the song, but in that song, they play part of one of Metallica's leads from the Black Album. Like, the whole lick. They just do it. And it's like, holy shit, you think of it as an homage, not really stealing.
Oh, it's totally okay to use it. I've never said you can't use anything.
So I don't think Ghost should have to pay Metallica.
That's where it gets real ugly.
I would be fucking honored if somebody stole my shit. No. But again, money isn't my primary focus. I want the song to be the best the song can be.
There was I was just reading the other day about what was it? It was Bob Dylan. He was with a band backstage and he said, "Are you putting out?" Was it? I think it was Guns N' Roses. He said, "Are you putting out this song?" And it was one of his songs. And they were like, "Yeah, we'd really like to do it."
Is it on Spaghetti?
No, it's on. No, they covered
Spaghetti Incident.
They covered Paul McCartney on "Use Your Illusion."
Is that on "Use Your Illusion" or Spaghetti Incident?
Well, "Live and Let Die." That's it's "Use Your Illusion."
That's on "Use Your Illusion."
Yeah,
that's honestly, I gotta say, most covers I think are inferior to the originals. That one was better, dude.
That one's fantastic. I mean, okay, so my favorite band of all time.
And I wanted to get back around to ask you the same question. So give me artists and bands.
Yes, Simon and Garfunkel. Dude. I think Paul Simon is perhaps the greatest songwriter of all time. He has such a strong vocabulary. And I think that when they were, especially at their prime, Simon and Garfunkel are tough to beat for melodies, for harmonies.
No. It was the way their voices became this angelic.
Yes.
I mean, it was better than some of the Brian Wilson shit.
Yes.
I mean, they were unparalleled.
I agree. And favorite song of all time, "I Am a Rock," by aforementioned band. Yeah. Now, behind that, I will say, my number 2 is GNR.
Give me 5.
Frank Sinatra. And this is where it gets real tough because there's a big mess at the top from mine. Personally, I'll put Aerosmith in top 5. I think in 50 years you're going to look back at Aerosmith as one of those bands. They had a lot of shit albums. They did have some shit albums.
But as far as rock and roll presence,
no one's okay.
And the vibe, I get that. Yeah, it's kind of like Ozzy wasn't that talented.
Yes,
but he was a rock god.
He was absolutely rock god. And I also saw Ozfest and was just it's one of those things that you're just blown away by. I think Aerosmith doesn't get their long term because something that
they adapted.
Yes,
and that's something a lot of bands couldn't do.
You can't
they adapted in the 80s.
Duration.
No.
If you can live that lifestyle
one of the longest,
for the good and the bad, and they've gone through. I mean, that's one thing we loved about Ozzy was Ozzy just kept on going.
Yeah. But you have to adapt. There's very few cases of bands like AC/DC that can just put out the same album. It's ZZ Top. But they're also not as relevant as those other people we're talking about. Ozzy adapted to the generations.
He did.
Now, Zakk Wylde was a big part of that. But Aerosmith had their 70s hits, and then they failed. And then they came out with, was it Pump was the first one?
Pumped. That was 86 or 88.
And you had all these hits. And then in the 90s you had Get a Grip. And that was the biggest album. Like, they adapted to the generations.
Just Press Play. And, it was kind of funny because when everyone was like, okay, Aerosmith, their 70s run, stick a fork in them, they're done.
Yeah.
They make themselves
you make a really compelling argument
relevant
for
again because all of a sudden now they're in the studio doing a hip hop version of one of their own hits.
Yeah.
So now you've brought in this whole new
Walk
This Way with Run DMC. Yeah. So now you've exposed yourself to a younger generation, and you've shown that you are relevant, and you've shown that it stands up, and there's a reason. That's
old guys can be cool.
Yes, they can,
yeah, and they showed that,
and especially in the '80s in this country, when you can have not only an old guy be cool, but an old guy being cool to an inner city youth.
Yeah,
who those were the lines that didn't get crossed much at all. And Aerosmith's did it. And
that's
then,
cool.
And what's crazy to me, they just kept plugging at it, and Angel went a long way. But you know what Angel never did? Hit number one.
Right.
What was their first number one song?
Oh, gosh. I don't know what the first number one was.
Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Is that right?
That is.
That was their first one?
Yes.
They never hit one
and
before.
They pushed at it, and they said, "Oh my God, they sold out, and they did this, and they did that." Okay, listen.
They used Desmond Child.
Very
liberally.
Desmond Child, and who's the other the female, the other big songwriter?
Yeah,
she's pumped out a bunch of stuff too.
But Desmond Child really helped.
But those were the two. I mean, they used both of those two songwriters.
Dude, and then they got into soundtracks. But can you fault them for it?
No.
They're trying to survive, right?
Okay.
At that point,
one of my favorite Guns N' Roses story is when they were still living in the storage facility in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And Slash was on the bottom bunk trying to tune his guitar. They had bunk beds set up in this literal metal storage, and I'm talking the row, not like an individual one.
Yeah.
And Steven's on the top bunk boning some girl.
Yeah.
And of course they're young and poor, so he pulls out and Slash is playing and it goes splat.
Oh.
And Slash looks up and says, "We got to get a better place than this." And that was kind of a turning moment for them. And you said earlier, AC/DC has a formula. I feel Slayer, same way, formula.
I agree.
Okay?
I agree.
Henry Rollins touched on that one, and he said, I feel like they chip Slayer out of ice every 5 years and say, go. And they do the same thing. Yeah. But this is where the public is what the problem is, because you can't win, all right? If you're AC/DC and you're putting out that formula,
and you change it,
and there's a bunch of people that look at it and say, "Oh my God, they've been singing the same song for 50 years."
Right.
Or you pull a Metallica and you completely evolve, people turn on you and say, "You're not Metallica anymore."
Right.
But they never did that to Aerosmith. There was a little bit of when they did the soundtrack for Armageddon, but then it wasn't like that harsh. Metallica.
It wasn't harsh. But metal fans are also some of the biggest fucking pussy assholes on the planet. It's like Avenged Sevenfold sold out because they saw, they started doing melodies instead of screaming.
And every punk band sold out, and every
metal fans really suck.
Again,
as do nerds.
You've been doing the same job for 10 years, and now all of a sudden someone says, "Hey, if you'll do this main job on this stage, we're going to give you $100 million."
Yeah.
You're going to say yes because you're tired of eating beanie weenies and getting jizz on your leg from your upstairs bunkmate.
Let's talk about Megadeth versus Metallica for a minute. Which one do you think is the greater metal band?
Going on, I actually have to find it, but I know I still have it. I have one last something. And it was the last recording that had Mustaine and McGovney in Metallica. And
I know the demo you're talking about.
It was interesting.
Are you sure it wasn't called I can think of didn't the cover have like a toilet on it?
I never had a cover for it. It was something I found.
Metal Up Your Ass.
Was that what it was?
Well, they had a Metal Up Your Ass demo. And there was like a hand with a knife coming out of a toilet, and it had McGovney and Mustaine on it.
Yes.
I don't know if that's the one you're talking about, but anyway, go ahead.
But it was... Metallica never would have achieved the success they would have achieved, and I truly believe that. Mustaine had to back down a little bit. Is there bitterness? Sure. I don't think. I mean, but I've never felt that Metallica. People always say Metallica is a metal band. Mm-hmm. The Black Album was not a metal album. Any subsequent release has not been a metal album. It's been a hard rock album.
Well,
but they're not.
You're
metal.
saying have you listened to Hardwired and
Okay, now they're trying to go back.
They're trying to go back
yes, now they're trying to go
Death
back
Magnetic
to it.
went back to metal.
It
Load
did.
and Reload were Southern rock albums.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying.
Garage Inc. was
Black. Garage Inc. I mean, they were good albums.
Black, but understand that the Black Album was before the Black Album, metal was taboo. Bob Rock was a genius in saying, hey, tone your shit down a little bit, make it more accessible. Instead of 8-minute songs, let's make them 4. Like, he made metal accessible to the public.
But they had already, and this there's something to be said about this, and this is why I say that, you know, all the modern guys, the Jelly Rolls, this, that, they're not going to see sustained success because everyone's on to the next thing already. You don't get the whole story, and your palate doesn't stay wet for them long enough. Yeah. So you're on to the next.
It's too fragmented. Back when we were growing up, everybody listened to the same radio stations that had the same record labels, owning the same bands. We watched the same television shows. Now you've got a million streaming services. You've got YouTube shows. It's
everywhere.
You're never going to get another stadium band out of the dirt.
I agree. And the other issue you have is that one thing about a band is you would get sustained success just from longevity. Yeah. You didn't have to put out a great album. You just had to survive long enough to put out the next album, and a million people were going to go buy it regardless. You know,
if you were big enough, especially.
Yes.
I mean, I look at Metallica as a great example. Their last several albums have been shit. They don't know what they're doing anymore.
No.
They're just trying to make something that sticks, and it's like they've lost. And it happens with every band. I can't even think of one exception. But I think, as a songwriter, for me, the best songs come out of real life and pain and struggle. It's a coping mechanism, writing a song. In my pace. But when you're rich, when you got everything you need, everything's great, what are you writing about?
That's right.
You know, it's like, I feel like you lose your motivation.
It's Rocky.
And so, and so then now you're going into the studio and you're trying to do stuff that's cool, and there's no soul in it anymore.
That's the way, you just nailed the way I feel about Metallica now.
Okay.
I think Metallica's trying to keep themselves relevant, but they haven't been relevant in a very long time. Versus where, and I mean, a great one is when Trent Reznor bowed and said, that's not my song anymore. Hurt belongs to Johnny Cash. Because...
yeah, wasn't that wild?
Oh my God. I mean, and if someone had told you a year after Hurt came out, 9 Inch Nails, that Johnny Cash was going to do it, you would have been like, no way.
He covered Rusty Cage.
And he went all over, but that's what I'm saying. Every once in a while, and this is what I think is very, very difficult to do. It is extremely difficult to make a cover that is superior to the original.
Absolutely.
Personal opinion, I think 85% of the ones that have been done with power. You take a softer song and you make it harder. Good example of that, I love the original Baker Street. Fantastic song. Foo Fighters do an awesome cover of Baker Street.
I've not heard it.
Sounds of Silence. Love the original. One of my top 5 favorite songs. Wherever I put it on my list, Disturbed's cover of Sound of Silence would be one notch above it. Because
really?
Yes.
I have to disagree with you there. I still like the original better. I love what they did with it. Don't get me wrong, but still prefer the original on that one.
He took a song that had that haunting quality and made it...
They did it well. Don't get me wrong.
Smashing.
They fucking nailed it.
I just went, and I'm the first to say, because there's certain things that I absolutely loathe. If you take a song that I love and you do a bad cover of it, I'll still hate you. Sheryl Crow can still burn because her version of Sweet Child of Mine is the worst version of Sweet Child of Mine I've ever heard in my life.
It's not good, but also if you're doing a cover, you adapt it to your style. You know what I mean? Like,
but you can do a good cover. Okay, make a mental note of this. because I'll put dollars to dimes. You've never heard this. Look up the band Luna, Luna. Look at their cover of "Sweet Child of Mine."
Okay.
Completely different sound.
Right.
And stunning.
But it's probably their style.
Not really. They kind of went out.
Made it her
she
style.
just
I'm not
did
saying
this
it's good.
like half drunken rambling about it. So I'm just no.
Well, what do you think about bands that cover it exactly the way it is, like note for note? Because Avenged Sevenfold,
to me, that's an homage.
Covered "Walk," and it was note for note. See,
there's something to be said about that.
But you didn't.
But what are you doing it for? Is this rock honors?
Here's where I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it in that they didn't do anything original. It feels lazy. Why I like it is saying we're covering a 20-year-old song and introducing it to a new younger audience.
Yes.
That's why I'm cool
with
it.
I'm glad because there's certain songs.
But I'm also disappointed as a listener. It's like, oh, Avenged had a chance to cover "Walk" and they just did it, But I'm old enough to remember Pantera. And they're not doing it for me.
No, they're doing it for the next generation.
They're doing it for the next generation.
Yes. And I always say that's one of the marks that you're getting older. When you hear a song and it's a song that you already know and you're going, this song's not old enough to be covered yet.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
it is. But I give credit where credit's due. I always joke that I was born in 1977 AE after Elvis. Elvis died August of 77. I was born in September. Okay, so I did not grow up with Elvis. My parents were not Elvis fans. It's not that they hated Elvis. They just weren't. They were. They were.
So
in folk
I'd be
rock.
1981. AJ after John Lennon.
Oh yeah, after John Lennon. That's a good one too.
He died in 80, December of 80.
Elvis was introduced to me, strangely enough, through Dwight Yoakam. His covers of Little Sister. That was the first one, and then Suspicious Minds. I had no idea, and I remember I was listening to that one.
How old were you?
Oh my gosh, I was young. Okay. That came out mid-'80s,
so
I
my
guess.
dad played in an Elvis tribute band.
Okay.
In Florida, with a guy named Gary Wayne Bridges, who actually after that went on to get a regular casino gig as an Elvis impersonator.
Oh, nice.
The guy was really good. We got some videos of it, and I was like 2, and they dressed me up in a little Elvis costume and would send me out to open up the show. I had little sunglasses, a little microphone. Side story, but that was my first introduction to the stage. I was part of an Elvis tribute band.
Richard Steuben, before he was with the Oak Ridge Boys, he was the bass in Elvis's band.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, his biography is called From Elvis to Elvira.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, and it's just, and that's where my influencers are kind of all over the place because I get folk music from my parents. My brother was a big country guy. I dove into, rock music. Actually, the first album I ever bought, Stray Cat Strut.
Really?
By the Stray Cats, Brian Setzer. And, it kind of just goes all over the place. But the one that got me was, and I clearly remember, I was on a Cub Scout camping trip. As soon as we got out of school, we loaded up, and then we were going to go camping for the weekend. And that was, 1986, and I heard Paradise City for the first time, and it just blew my mind. I'd never heard anything like it.
Were your parents religious at all? Or
No. My father, historically Roman Catholic. My mom, I guess, would have been Protestant. Neither one of them were practicing.
But you didn't have any trouble getting access to that kind of music?
No.
So I was in a very strict... My mother did not
okay. In that respect, yes.
You seen the Tenacious D movie?
Yes.
The intro?
That was... Yes. So, no, I clearly remember. And, of course, I'm old enough. You might not remember this, but not only could you not buy Guns N' Roses in a lot of places... first of all, Walmart didn't sell it at all. And when they finally did, it was the edited version.
Yep.
But that was all the area. I remember Sears at the mall had the edited version. There were several that had the edited version.
Thank Tipper Gore for all that shit.
And don't get me wrong, they did push the envelope.
That's what rock and roll is supposed to do, brother.
It should, and I don't... And this is where it gets real... It's tough. Okay, here's one I just learned a few days ago. Peter, Paul, and Mary. Did you know Peter went to prison? He had sex with a 14-year-old.
Whoa!
Yeah, 14-year-old. Or, I'm sorry, she performed oral sex on him. Okay?
Okay.
So
he could have been tied down.
It's something. Easy to look many different ways on that, but obviously this was way back then, and 14-year-old, oh my gosh. But his comment on the whole thing was, these were groupies. She came backstage with her sister. I had no idea she was that young. It was completely willful, you know, and where does the...
I get it, man. That's just
it's
one
tough.
I hate to touch with a 10-foot pole.
I know.
Because if it was my daughter...
Yep. And everyone feels that way.
I would be in jail.
Yes.
For killing the man.
Yep.
But also, she's there. She's got... if you've gone through puberty...
Yeah.
And... There, my son is 15 and he looks 22. Mm-hmm. He's got a full beard.
And I've known several people like that. And I've made my living doing this.
I don't consider that person a pedophile.
No, and it's tough. And
now, if it's a prepubescent person, we got a whole different conversation.
I'll take it one step farther. In 1949, my father came into this world. All right. In 19, let me think. 39.
You can make it a calculator.
In 1934, his mother came into this world.
Right.
She was 15. But in 1944, during the baby boom, it was very common. My grandfather had just gotten home from the war. And here's another one, since we'll go full circle back to Epstein, Weinstein, and the whole works.
Yeah,
all right?
Yeah.
One of the things that just made me... And I know this is going to be the boo hiss from so many people, but, these girls that were 15, 16 years old, and they're going, oh my God, they were just children. My grandfather ran off to World War II. He got out of the military in 1949 when he was 19 years old.
Yeah.
Okay?
We ask a lot of our
Did
young
anyone
children.
look back and go, the U.S. government took advantage of that child?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
You grew up younger.
Sure.
You had your families younger. Like I said,
Absolutely.
they started their family.
Well, and also you needed family members to help on the farm.
Yes.
Back then we didn't have Walmarts everywhere. You grew your own food in a lot of cases. You had to
it's funny because to me, sometime between 1960 or between like 1950 and 1970, the standard started getting pushed up. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing. Like to this day have a huge problem with the fact that you can be drafted and die for your country at 18, but you can't have a beer before you do.
I was just talking to my kids about that today.
And do I think that the
Well, what do you think should happen? Should they lower the drinking age to 18 or extend the military service to 21?
Do you think an 18-year-old should be able to vote?
I don't think anyone under 40 should be able to vote, but that's just me.
I truly believe you should be able to pass either a basic aptitude
test.
Yes,
yeah.
You should be able to say demonstrate that you know. And I'm fine with it if you put it all on one ballot and you made your votes and then you gave your competency check, and if your competency check was so low that this gets thrown out.
It gets thrown out. I'm fucking with
you
there.
One thing I will say, I loved when Nicole, it was before the election and you guys were having your cast and Nicole came out and just said, I don't have enough knowledge.
Right.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
She and don't get me wrong, why didn't she? Because the people she ran with, there's others which I will not name that will grandstand and can't tell you anything about it or why they feel that way or what they disagree with.
Right.
And that's something I just love to poke at. When somebody says, oh, I hate this person, I'm like, great. What policies did you disagree with?
Right.
If you can tell me something, then I get respect. That's one of the reasons I had respect for you, because you involved yourself enough to understand what was going on and what the subjects are. And that's beautiful. The more of that we can have and build this on a grassroots level, and we're never going to reach the masses, because if I try to stand up in front of 500 people, initially people go, who's this guy and why is he talking?
Yeah.
But it's the same way I run my business. I have the word of mouth. When you go to your friend and you say, hey, I had something here that was fantastic, they're going to come in.
Sure.
It's the same way when you can get somebody that says, hey, I talked to Brad Durham, and Brad really seems to be well-read and understand what's going on. And even if I don't have the knowledge of it, he can enlighten me. We may not agree on something.
And there's a lot of things I don't have knowledge on either.
And that's it.
And I get educated by
just trying to...
You've taught me a lot. And that's one of the beautiful things about this podcast is I learn a lot.
It's a great thing. And I love the concept of the platform. And I did get comical because I remember hearing when you said that... when internet came out, you didn't think it was going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I did.
And I mean, I predate internet.
But you were like computer.
I was the computer nerd.
Guy, so.
And I mean, I remember what we went through and how ridiculously slow it was.
Yeah.
But the thirst for knowledge was there. The thirst to see everything was there.
Yeah.
They used to have things called ASCII pictures. ASCII. Yes.
Yep.
And it was just, just different letters, but you would make a picture and you would be on all night and it would take 2 hours to download this picture to where you could kind of make out boobs. It was like going to your friend's house when you were a kid whose parents had cable but they didn't have a descrambler,
right? And
you flip through the channels until maybe you just got that one glimpse of something. I mean, it's just...
I'll tell you a funny story. So I'm old enough to remember when I was in either probably late elementary school, in order to get porn, somebody would leave it in a brown bag under the bleachers. You'd go in after school and leave it, however many dollars it was, right? It was very drug deal-esque kind of deal. And then by the time I was in high school, you were just handing each other A drives, the hard disks that had 3.4 megs on it, and it had all these images. And there was, this is like Microsoft Paint, but they would just have a really badly posted picture of Jennifer Aniston's head on some naked chick, and you're jerking off to it, and you're like, man, this is so awesome.
It's the greatest thing ever.
I have to look through a magazine. I can just pull up my computer.
And that's where...
How far we've come.
I say this as even not a parent, but I empathize with anyone who is parents because... At least we had to work a little bit.
We had to earn our porn back then, man.
It's so easy. And the hard part is there's no way to shield from it, And because of that, kids are learning stuff younger, and that's not a good slippery slope to be on, but that's where we are.
No, I'm with you, but yeah, you're right. But also, kids have, and I have noticed this with my own kids who... I've got a 15, a 13, and a 10, right? So there's things you don't want the 10 being involved in, but they're still around, It goes over their heads most of the time, or secondly, it grosses them out, right? If there's like a sex scene in a movie, rather than them being like, how can I make this happen for myself? It's like, oh my God, it's gross. I don't ever want to kiss a girl. So there's built-in mechanisms that do keep them kids if accidentally something gets astray.
But that 13-year-old, when those hormones start hitting...
Yeah, no.
Then it's like...
for me, it's like once we've had the talk, it just opens everything.
Did you have a big talk with your parents when you were that age?
I never got a talk from my parents. All I learned was in classes. Yeah. I didn't get any instruction from my parents, not a single word. I've had conversations with 2 of my boys, but...
I tried to just be responsible. I was in high school. I was not promiscuous. I had 2 girlfriends the entire time. I dated 1 girl my entire sophomore, half the junior year, the second one the other half of the junior, and all the senior year.
Wow.
But we were very, very sexually active.
Right.
And I just tried to be conscientious about it. They knew me by face at the Washington County Health Department. I went up there, every couple of weeks. And I remember the first time I went up, I was like, oh, I heard I could get condoms here. And the lady gives me like 4. So I came back 2 days later. And
back when you're young.
Yes, and then she gave me a few more, and then it got to the point where literally they would see me walk in the door, and by the time I got to the counter...
They got a 53-foot trailer backing up to your back.
No, it wasn't bad. It was just a little brown paper bag.
Yeah.
But it was full, and by that point, yeah, it would last me a month or so. Well, I had gone to school, and then I went to work. I worked at Montgomery Ward back then, and I left Evelyn Hills, and I swung by, because it was right off North Street, where the health department was. Stopped by, got my bag of condoms, and then I went home. And my mom, I was up in my bedroom, parents' house, multi-story, and I'm up in my bedroom, and I'm on my computer, and we never closed our doors. I mean, it was, my parents' room was way downstairs, out, my brother and I, and by high school, I'm the only one left living at home.
Right.
We never closed doors, but it was just always a courtesy knock, If you were getting dressed or something, and even then, most of the time, I didn't worry about it because I was the only one up there, and I'd hear somebody walking up the stairs. Well, I heard my mom walking up the stairs, didn't think anything about it. She was either A, coming up to put towels in the pantry, or B, if she had done some of my clothes, right when you walked in my door, I had a catch-all. It was just a little dresser. Mm-hmm. And that's where I, keys, wallet, yada, yada, yada. And I heard the knock on my door, and I was in tune with something on the computer. I don't know what I was doing, but I was going, and I was like, thanks, Ma. And she always would just say, you're welcome, or no problem, or did nothing. And I keep typing it. It dawns on me about 10 seconds later, there was no acknowledgement. So I turn around, and my mother's standing there, and she's got a little stack of my clothes. But her eyes are on, and I look over, and I realize she is staring directly at the bag of condoms that I have just haphazardly left sitting out there.
Oh, no.
And I looked at it, and I was quick, though. I looked at it, and I looked at her, and I'll never forget this. I said, I'm a straight-A student. I don't get in trouble. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I have a full-time job. I've shown some responsibility. I have one habit, and I'm being responsible about it.
Man!
And my mother,
what a closer!
Without saying a word, she shrugged her shoulders, turned around, put my clothes down, turned around, and left. And I was like, well, that was a successful closing argument, But, I mean, that was really exactly how I felt. I was like, I know a lot of other people that were being screwballs and just doing stupid stuff, and I was just trying to be responsible about it. So,
yeah.
But times have changed and things have gotten...
Dude, I was a fucking hound dog. I just sniffed the wind to see where the pussy was, man. I just wanted anything new. Mm-hmm. I'll try anything. That's why every time my wife got pregnant, I prayed, please don't give me girls, because I'm going to be punished,
mm-hmm.
For
being the guy that you were.
And it's going to be a countdown. As soon as her birthday is, puberty, I'm going to be in prison.
I saw something as a teenager, and there's very few things that struck me through my life, but I clearly remember, and it wasn't even geared toward young people. It was geared a little bit older, but it said, would you want your daughter, or would you be proud if your daughter brought home a man like you?
Wow, dude.
And
that's a powerful question.
And that one really just kind of
Yeah.
flipped over in my head, and to this day it still does. It's like I think you have to be self-aware, and I am far from perfect, and I just you strive to be better.
That's a good question.
But I think that is one that a lot of people could stop to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, brother, we got some action with the kids tonight. We're gonna do.
Absolutely.
So I want to wrap this up, but we got to do this again.
I'd love to.
I feel like this was just an introductory session.
I think
So.
Yeah.
All right.
Just let me know when I'll be here.
Dude, awesome. It was great talking with you.
You as well.
I appreciate you coming on, and we didn't even really get to talk about the business much, but hey, let's do a little post game. Like, when did you end up getting into the business?
12 years ago. 12 years ago. I've been bartending nights and weekends long before that.
Right.
And I just kind of had that turning point in life going, I wasn't unhappy with what I was doing, but I didn't want to look back 15 years later going, why didn't I do something else?
Well, I want to promote it a little bit. And so, I've been there. I saw my uncle's first show that they did there. It's the only time I've been. But really cool vibe.
Thanks.
Talk about like what it is.
I have Morano's Bar and Grill. They're on Martin Luther King, same shopping center as Mexico Viejo Whiskey 101. I'm just at the opposite end.
And if you're old, it's where Food for Less used to be. And Curtis Mathis.
Yeah,
Thomas
yes,
Jewelry.
Yes. Fun fact, real quick side on that. Where Whiskey 101 is now, that was a store that I worked at as a teenager before I went to Montgomery Ward. That used to be called Surplus City.
Yep.
So that was my place. So here we are 30 years later, and all I did was move to the other end of the building.
Yeah.
But just a laid-back locals place. I thought I was opening up a bar with a pool hall, and it turned out that I opened up a restaurant that happened to have some nice pool tables. So that's
nice.
Really what put us on the map, and there's all stories.
You got live music?
Live music, at least a couple days a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. We do an open mic night on Sundays.
Oh, that's cool. So
cool.
what's that like?
Just show up, sign in. You know,
what do you have coming? Bands?
Bands. I've had everything. Last week we had singer-songwriters. We had a clown. We had poetry readings.
What's the wildest thing you've seen up there?
Probably. I think.
I mean, clown has got to be.
Carbuncle's up there, yeah. Carbuncle the clown is pretty up there.
What did he do? Like, do you do some stand-up?
He does some songs and does some kind of stand-up and tells some jokes, and he's entertaining. I'll give him that. So it was funny because the crew was terrified. They thought I was going to be like, why is this guy on stage? But, make me chuckle.
Dude, have you ever thought about doing comedy night?
I've done comedy night in the past.
You?
Yes.
How did it go?
Done all over. It does well. It does well. It's kind of like karaoke night. Those nights never sustain. And they start off strong.
They start off
and then
strong,
the longer
and
you go,
wane.
yes, it wanes off.
Really?
So you have to kind of jump around with it a little bit.
Yeah,
but we're just getting back to
But if you did
fall.
it like a quarterly or maybe like a bi-quarterly or something, that could be really
like
neat.
a once a month deal you could probably even get away with.
Because there's just no opportunity for comedy around here.
There's
other than
one
Grove.
place, yeah, Grove.
It's Grove.
And Bill Adams has a great place up there. I'm
Absolutely,
really happy with what he did.
How do you break into a place like that unless you get some experience somewhere?
Exactly.
I was growing up. Do you remember Clunk Music Hall?
Yep.
I mean, that's where I played my first show. He
Really?
would literally let anybody play there.
Yeah.
And we played there, and we got our shit together in front of a live audience, and learned to play as a band. And then, my dad got us into bars when we were, teenagers. Back then, it was you got to wear a bracelet. You can't drink any alcohol, and then you meet the bartender. And thanks, Chris Gray, if you ever watched this.
My gosh, Chris
for hooking
Gray.
us up when we were youngsters.
Chris Gray's Gonzo Game Show.
Yeah, dude, that's old school shit. Well, man, thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely.
Check out Morano's. It's a hoot and holler.
That's it.
And I hope to be playing there one day.
I hope so. Love to have you.
We gotta get ready. We're far from ready, but that is the goal. We wanna get out there and play some live music. So, anyway, thanks again, sir.
Thank you.